Hello everyone. How you guys doing? Hope everyone is okay. I already have some messages here talking about dark leads. I think it's like FM leads. Brain Busher was just a track from him was just playing before, and somebody's asking for that. So before I can start doing a lead, I need a kick and a bass, obviously, and some percussion. I think we have time to get into the leads, and also time to do a kick bass, mix the kick and bass, and then do some drums, mix the drums with the kick and bass, and then do a few leads. I think we have time for all that, so I'll start with that if that's okay with you guys. The chat is on. I'm on the chat. Anything you guys want to say or ask, just go for it. So I usually use kick gel to do my kicks. So as you guys know, and let me see. First thing I do is look for the frequency, the lowest frequency and the highest frequency. Let me use another span analyzer. This is on the master bus. I think I got one here. Here we go. So this is my span analyzer for my kick. Well, first I gotta find out where my kick is. Whoa. I'm using very little space so that you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. So it's a bit tricky. So my kick is in E. And I'm going to make it so that we work on E. Actually, it's already in E, so no worries. Let's just go from there. As you can see here on the span analyzer, E shows down there and down there. I forgot to ask, how's my voice going, guys? Is the vocal and the key, can you hear everything all right on your side? Oh, there's an... Yeah, cool. So I got a question here about kick and bass mixing. Yeah, I'll get to that. I'll get to the mixing side of things. Let's just layer kick first, layer kick there, and layer a bass. So I'll just create the bass patch. I'll start here using silent. There's actually a bass patch already created here. You guys, this is pretty straightforward. I don't think nobody asked to do this, so I'm just going to use the patch that I have here. So if you guys want me to go into this, creating bass patches, just ask for it. I'll just write one down really quickly. Yep. Okay. So some people that have sent me tracks and stuff, they sometimes use the bass one octave up. So like I'm in E, I want to use my bass down here. So my first harmonic is around here, in 40 hertz, right? So not in 80 hertz when we're talking about E. So really deep, so you can have really sub bass going on there. Let me see, there's some stuff here on the chat. Yeah, one oscillator. filter envelope modulation, that's it, exactly, fat bass, yeah, that's it. It's easy to do a bass. Yeah, that's right, 90%, yeah, yeah. It depends on the synthesizer. If you go and use Trillion, for example, you get more options and you can mess around a bit more with it. So that's probably going to be a bit different. Now, I already have a sidechain compressor. I'm using RBase for sidechain. It's already active. And usually on RBase, what I use is attack on the minimum possible. Oh, there's another question here. But the trick is work with filter envelope. Exactly. The amount that you send to the filter envelope and then the filter envelope settings is basically, you guys know how it is. It's just decay, work your sustain, have a little bit of sustain in there on the filter envelope so that the long notes can be listened to. They're not gonna disappear. They're not so short. They have some length to them. So basically that's it. This will be available as a video later, yeah. So if any of you guys have a problem with your internet connection is too slow or something, I'll upload this to YouTube, so no worries. Well, let's get back to the sidechain. Sidechain attack, I just use the minimum as possible, 0.50 here, and which is alpha millisecond if I'm not wrong. And release usually at 27 milliseconds. I'm working at 148 BPMs on this track. So, and the reduction ratio, I go from 2 to 3 here on sidechain, and I try a reduction 3 to 6 dB. So in this case, I got a bit more than minus 3 dB. So it's something very subtle. But it depends. I mean, if you want more of a pump effect, you just work out your threshold. Hang on a second. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Something's wrong here. My sidechain compression is not doing anything. Right. Right, air compressor, that's right. Where are you going for? Kick and bass. My kick is going for kick and bass as well. That's strange. Something's on. Yes, I already have a tree comp. I'm not going to use this because this is native from Studio One, and a lot of you guys don't use Studio One, so I'll just turn that off. Actually, take it out. This is the one I use to glue them together. I use just it's a single band compressor, and I use a little bit of saturation, but we can use other machines to do this. And I got a EQing both kick and bass, and I'm cutting at around 32 Hertz and cutting at around 10K in this case, but I'll redo that in a second. I just want to check out what the heck is going on with my sidechain compression. Let me see the chat, how's it going. For compression, 3 dB when bass plays. Could you show the bass patch again? Send compression to kick. Yes. Yeah, I usually go for around minus 3 dB. If I want more of a pump effect, I go to minus 6 dB. Yeah, the bass patch, I can show you the bass patch right now, right quickly. What fits in the screen. So that's what fits. So it's really simple bass patch. I think there's a little bit of release on the amp envelope. No release on the modulation envelope. The amount here is actually on maximum, but you can control that, change the sound a little bit. Got a bit of drive. I'm using 12 dB for the low pass filter. Yeah, really simple, guys. You don't need too much. Yeah, modulation envelope. That's the trick. You spend a little bit of time here, and and sometimes the problem is the kick. I mean, if the kick doesn't match the bass very well, the bass is never going to sound good. I don't have velocity tracking on, but I could do. Yeah, you could do. You could do that. I've just done what was I've done the fastest possible patch. But yeah, you can have velocity tracking on, so you can like work out a few patterns with velocity, rhythmical patterns. It changes. Actually, some people use velocity to do the instead of sidechain compression, like coming here to the to your bass velocity. Where's the bass? Here's the bass. Coming here and like accessing velocity and lowering the volume from the first note, and that gives you kind of like a hang on, you can't see this bit, right? Here we go. So lowering velocity of the first note, and that would give you like a sidechain effect. Yeah, similar, not the same thing. It's not like the same pumping effect, but it sounds like sidechain. So yeah, for sidechain, I usually use a reduction ratio 2 and a reduction of about 3, and release usually goes from 20 to 30 milliseconds. One thing about volume, and I only pay attention to volume graphically. For the kick and for the bass. For everything else, percussion and leads and everything else, I just use my ears. Let me check the chat. Right, compressor on patch. Do I have compressor on the patch? I don't even... Do I? Oh yes, I do have a little bit of compressor on the patch. Forgot that bit. Yeah, there's a bit of compression there. I don't know why I have my compressor on. I don't usually use the compressor from Silent. Let me see the difference. Yeah, these settings actually make it snappier. So I got my attack at 40 milliseconds, my release at 53 milliseconds, and, well, threshold minus 13, and a ratio of 4:1. Don't usually use that compressor anyway, but there you go. It's doing something, and it's doing something good. So, yeah. 4 notes. Yeah, some people use 4 notes for the bass as well, like having 1 note here. That's when you have like you want to blend both kick and bass. I've heard about this technique before. It's like the bass, the sub for the kick is just the bass playing, and then the kick is just a little click on top of the bass that makes it sound like a kick. Yeah, it actually works pretty well. But I would say it's more of a technique for high tempo stuff. Works better on high tempo stuff, and your bass needs to almost sound like a kick, really. It's like a sweep, a sine sweep, like what a kick is, basically. Yeah. So yeah, again with the volumes. So I usually get a good analyzer and stick my kick drum at around minus 15 dB. So here on the Voxengo, my kick drum is at minus 21. Let's put it at minus 15 right now. And when I add the bass, I'm looking at a maximum of minus 12. So I'm going to gradually add the bass now to the kick. I think there's some questions here already. See, use a big sound for bass and works. That's yeah. Some people work the sound in wave. Yeah, in wave format. It's the most correct. I mean, the thing about using the bass sound in wave is that it's just that it's harder to work with. If you, I mean, you want to change a note, you got to be transposing the sample, or you can just have several channels with different notes. You can do that. That's no problem. It's more stable in a way, but I mean, you try it. Try it for yourself and check it out. There's also other ways to do it, like using a sampler. So you create a good bass patch in wave, export it to wave, and use a sampler to go with that. And that works fine as well. So it's what suits you better, really. So let's add the bass. Okay, so -12, hitting -12 there. And first thing I want to do is make kick and bass glued well together. And oh, before I even go there, you guys want to know what to do in the mix. And I mean, for now it's fine. They sound fine together. But we can look for frequency problems, and usually the problems happen in this area. If I add now a EQ and show you. So this is an EQ on the bass, and usually the problems happen in this area from well, 50. I think our lowest note here is around 40 somewhere. Yeah, around here. Silent is a pretty clean bass, but usually the bass has too much going on around 200, from 100 to 200. And we try to clean it up a little bit. A way to find those problem frequencies, you already know. You guys boost it a little bit. And find sweep, you know, sweep. Sweeping is just going one side to the other, looking for frequencies. And what I'm really looking for is frequencies that go up in volume, like jump out of the speakers when I pass by them. Like that. And then reduce a little bit. So basically clean it up a little bit so that him and the bass and the kick, they fit a little bit better. Right. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So bass, for example, here we're working in E, and E, as you can see on the analyzer. Let me just leave this here. Open up my span analyzer again. As you can see here in the analyzer, it goes down to 40, and you know. When it gets to the mastering stage, this is probably going to be cut down. And if everything's going to be cut down from 40 and down, so I wanna hear how is it going to sound like. So what I'll do is I'll go for my kick and my bass channel, and I'll apply an EQ. and I want to see how is this gonna sound like with a cut at around, let's go over around 37, because this is cutting at 48 dB slope, so 37 is probably gonna have add anything down from 40 down, not listened to. So that's on. Yeah, I'm just bypassing it and see how is it sounding. So I'm happy with the cut at 35. Now it's just checking out my high cut, see where I'm gonna cut, and I was actually cutting at 10K, and I think it's too much because the click of the kick disappears if you notice. So I'm just gonna leave a cut at 13K at the moment. I will come back to this when the percussion is on and playing, because with the hi-hats and all that, then we'll decide if we have enough click on the kick and if we have enough I-end on the bass. Right. So now just one thing we need to do, it's to glue them together. And the best way to do that is using, aside from sidechain compression, which you already done, is using some kind of saturation, right? Saturn is a good choice. Let's check out Saturn. As a single band, for this purpose, works better, so no need to create a new band. I'll also show you one thing that I like to do instead of Saturn. I also, before I turn Saturn on, I'll just show you. I like to use the waves. This comes with the wave spec, if I'm not wrong. The soft tube saturation knob. So let's try one and the other. The problem with this plugin, I don't think I can change it, can I? No. The problem with this plugin is that I can't lower the volume of it. That pisses me off. And it's hard to say, see the difference, because everything that sounds louder usually sounds better. Anyway, let's go back to Saturn. But check this out, this does a very good job anyway. Let's go back to Saturn. What I'm gonna do in Saturn, we got this mix button, so mix is on max for this band. I'll increase my drive a little bit so I can see what kind of distortion I'm using. So as I will now change the distortion type, just check out which one is better. I'm just gonna check my chat. Cool. Yeah, I see in the chat. There's some clicks and pops sometimes, yeah. When I touch the plugins, right? I think that's it. I hope there's not too much of it. Right. Yeah, I think next time I need to put the image quality down a little bit. Maybe that's why. Okay. Anyway, so I put the drive at about 50%, and I start changing my type of saturation. So let's try a clean tube first. I actually like the clean tube better than the other ones. I'm not going to go down. There's more saturation types. As you go down, there's like amp simulators, and there's gentle saturation here as well. Let's try that. Now, I like clean tube a little bit better. So I'm going to go with clean tube. Maybe, yeah, 50% is actually not too bad. Let me bypass. Maybe too much. We want to be subtle here. Now, this is the lovely knob that does the trick. What happens here is that if I go left, I get more choppy sounds, stuff with more attack. And if I go right, I get stuff with more sustain. So if I go right, what happens is it's going to help glue the kick to the bass because it's creating more sustain on both. And so let's try that. Let's see. Now I want to see the difference before and after, and the only way I'm going to do this is having the same volume when I bypass here. So I got to lower the volume of the machine a little bit. Okay. And then you have this little EQ here you can use as well. So just because when we use saturation, sometimes the I end goes dull, you know. So why not use a little bit of I end here? There. Okay, so you know Saturn is also good as a single band for the bass or dual band in case, let's say, now that when we're gonna add the percussion, let's say the bass starts disappearing a little bit, so we can use like Saturn and use just one band. I'll actually do it right now, show you guys. So I would. Let's say my percussion is making my bass disappear. I'll just come here. This band I'll just turn off, and I'll use these bands to make it its ion jump up a little bit. And you know, sometimes I go for a smooth amp. With the mix button, so this is the mix between dry and wet, so let's not use all of it. But of course the percussion needs to be playing, so I'm going to turn this off for now and I'll only come back to it if needed. So that's pretty much it for kick and bass for now. Now we gotta move on to our percussion. Let me see the chat and have a bit of water as well. No. The dynamic control, it's actually, if you go left, let me open the Saturn again. Dynamics control, it controls the attack and the sustain. So if you go left, you make things with more attack, like shorter sustain, shorter length, they get shorter, right? If you go right, you make things longer. Like longer, more sustain, longer length. And so if you go longer, you make things glue up a little bit. And yes, Saturn is applied to both kick and bass to make them glued together. No worries. Okay, so let's move on to percussion. Now, trick about percussion, first, to have really high quality samples. And I mean, you might like your percussion digital or acoustic. Most people usually use samples that are a mixture of acoustic and digital. So let me just go to my files, come here for my sample library, samples, MDMA, Cytrons, and look for some hi-hats. So just gonna grab this little fella here. It sounds pretty clean. And do something with it. So as you can see, I changed the volume here a little bit. It's a way to make them sound natural, change the volume of the individual notes. And now I usually only use 2 hi-hats. Some people use like 4 and 5 to create a really rhythmical pattern, and it works, you know. So you can use a lot of hi-hats if you like. Just keep in mind, the more hi-hats you use, the less active other bits of the percussion need to be, because otherwise it's just going to be a big mess up. Right. Something here on the chat. Isn't there a problem with the bass transient overriding the kick? I mean, if the bass sustain will probably override the kick, won't it? Yes, that's why you can't use too much of that transient knob. So don't be like using 100% sustain on it, just a little bit, so that they glue up together. Not totally, obviously. It's just a little bit. Right. So I'm just gonna look for another hi-hat. I'm actually making this a bit bigger, this loop. Okay, that's enough for my second hi-hat. And right, so the hi-hats for me are like what I use to control the volume of my percussion. And what I mean is, I come here to my analyzer, and I control myself by the volume of the kick. So, and I select here my first hi-hat, and I'll punch in the volume of my hi-hat according to the kick. What I mean is, I got my kick and bass around here, and I start bringing the hi-hat, and I want it to level up with the kick and bass. Like that. Goes over the kick and bass. It depends. You also have to listen to it, not just go with the graphics. So as soon as to get my second hi-hat over there, I obviously don't want it to be louder or lower than my first hat. So let me select my second hat and start placing it in with the volume. So you see the difference, it's going in there, filling up the spaces there. And one thing that I didn't say, I got my hi-hats, one of them is going 40% to the left, and the other one 40% to the right, because they kind of use the same space, and this gives it a little bit more dynamics. If you analyze, it depends on the analyzer as well. Yeah, the question here, I gotta say the question. It says, "In the kick and bass supposed to be the loudest instruments on the mix?" Well, they can be the predominant ones. Doesn't necessarily means that they're the loudest. But this depends on the analyzer as well. The curve of the analyzer this one can be a bit different from other ones. And even in different modes, I use the high resolution mode. And on the high resolution mode, this is what happens. And if you analyze like other tracks, even master tracks, finished tracks from other artists, you'll find that the high end is usually louder than the low end. So now, I'm not using, let's see, both my hi-hats on solo. See what they're using of the spectrum. So because my hi-hats are using the appropriate space, just this area here, over 4K, 5K, right? I don't need to EQ them at all. But let's say they were using some frequencies below that, I would have to EQ them. Now we're getting to the part which I find, which I believe it makes the difference when we're doing the percussion. The open hat, some people call it the push hat, and the snare and clap. I mean, if you use snare and clap, which I usually use both snare and a clap. The combination of them, the push hat and the snare, needs to be really good, because that's going to determine if the percussion makes sense or not. It kind of like helps to glue and make the percussion as one. Hang on. Right. I got a compressor on the percussion. Let me turn these off. Okay. Right. So let's catch a nice open hat first. Open hat. Okay, I'm gonna go with this one. And again, let's get our graphic back here, and I'm gonna use the volume to make it come up. So I've just put the volume down, and I'm gonna bring it up slowly, looking at the graphic and see where it starts to show up. You'll see it come up. There it is. See? So what I made sure is that it doesn't go past my other hi-hats, and that it shows up in the graphic. So pretty easy to punch it in. Now comes the tricky part. I need a snare that matches my open hat very well. For snares, what I usually do, I use one snare that is long and muddy, a bit muffled, sometimes even. What I mean to say is not too much of attack on my snare, and use a clap in contrast with a lot of attack and a short tail. So long tail for the snare, short tail for the clap. A lot of attack on the clap and not so much attack, more sustain on the snare. So let's look for a snare with sustain. Okay, so here we have one. So you can see it's right, a lot of sustain on this snare. It goes on forever. And again, now it's going to be more of the hearing even though when I have my snare and my clap, if I show you the graphic thing again, you'll see the snare coming up. See this area where she is right now? She or he? I don't know if a snare is a male or a female. There's a question here, I think. Do you use swing for your head drums? Depends on the parts, but yes. Well, it depends on what I'm doing, really. If I'm doing swingy stuff or triplet stuff, I will use swing, yeah. I mean, in progressive, you know, it's very popular to use swing on the hi-hats, even on the bass. And, you know, it depends on the part that you're using. I mean, if you're going to use swing on the hi-hats, you better use swing on the bass, unless you're doing like a one-note bass, like syncopated with the kick. And there, you can do whatever swing or stuff you want to your percussion. But yeah, swing is really nice in some occasions, for sure. Okay. Now I need a clap with snap. So I'm gonna look for a nice short clap. I think it's this one right here. Right. I want it to be short. And I'm gonna use my ear here. So it's just giving it a little bit of attack there. And one thing that we have to pay attention is if they're similar and if they're not out of phase. And let me zoom in on here. And as you can see, they're a bit out of phase. By out of phase, I mean, as you can see here, one is going down and the other one is going up. So in this area, they're kind of canceling. Some of the frequencies are canceling each other. So I'm going to try to solve this by grabbing this sample here, my clap, and kind of like move it and make it go with the top one. I mean, the first impact is the most important one right there. Then it kind of goes out of phase in some areas, but they're kind of different, so it's not too much to worry about. And I'll just do a little fade in on here, very short. It's not even 1 millisecond, as you can see. Let's listen to it. Right. Sounds like my open at might be a bit too loud right now compared to the snare. Yeah, my snare is too loud. Now, again, let's check out EQ. I think my open hat has got too much going on, and I want to cut some stuff out of there and open some space for the snare. And the same thing goes for the snare. It's too noisy. There's some frequencies there that are not liking. You can, yes. There's a question here. Why not invert the phase? Yeah, you can invert the phase. You can try that as well. And if you want to go more than inverting, simply inverting the phase, check out the Waves plugin. What's the name? Let me check here on my list. I can't. Live Stereo something. In Phase. Yeah, the In Phase plugin from Waves. I'll show you really quickly. What it does is that right here is the in phase. What it does is that you can change the phase from left and right, or from two different channels, load them up, and then you have this EQ type which only affects an area of the spectrum for that phase, which is it's awesome. You guys check it out. I'm not going to go deep into this. I'm not going to even talk more about it, but if you check out a few tutorials about this machine, it's called In Phase. It's really good. Keep your phase lined up. So I just selected the really fast way to go about it, just to zoom in and change the position a little bit. So let's go to the hi-hat and check out. I got a EQ already on the hi-hat. Wasn't turned on, I just turned it on now. I usually use a low cut for it. You can use a low shelf if you prefer. There's a bit of a different sound to it. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff here on my hi-hat. A lot of stuff there that I really don't want. So I'm cutting at around 1K. And now if I go to my snare, I'll just solo my snare and check out what my snare is doing. So it's not too bad. I usually cut my snares around 500 to 1K. But still, I don't want this mess here at around 400, 600. I'm going to cut a little bit of it. But I want to be listening to my clap. I already had a cut. I'm cutting at around 500, and maybe to let my clap go, cut through a little bit. I might open up space here for my with a high cut on the snare so that my clap comes out. A little bit better. And also for my hi-hats. Let me see my clap. Do I have EQ already on there? Oh, yes, I do. So, yeah, this is where I usually cut my claps, around 1K. But anyway, let's listen to the whole thing here. See how's it sounding. So you see the clap is just very subtle. It's just a little snap there. Let me see the chat. There's some questions here. I think. Yeah, you can invert the phase. Most DAWs have a phase invert button. Or they have a utility application, a utility machine that lets you invert phase. For example, Studio One has this little, I think it's the mix tool, where you can like invert left, invert right, or if you invert both, you're just inverting it. So most DAWs have a way to invert phase. If you look on the manual of your DAW, you'll find it. Right. Okay, so moving on, there's obviously a lot of elements for the percussion. I like to use rides and shakers, most of the time also some congas, and I'll stick some other stuff in there, and I'll just make a few loops. But let's stick to the basics for now, just for now, and add a crash. So the crash is not something that we want to be messing out our ears. We don't want something that is too loud. And I like this last one. I just have to stretch, make this loop a little bit bigger. Otherwise, we're gonna have a crash too often. So I'll just duplicate it 4 times. It's way too loud. And EQing the crash. Crash is a symbol, and EQ for it is pretty much like you would EQ an hi-hat, but not as much. Well, actually, it's more similar to the open hat. Too loud. I'm gonna look. So that's it. That's our crash. The loop is still too small, but this is when I start doing some modifications to the loop, make it add some stuff here to the end. And now duplicate it, duplicate this loop. Four times, and now I can just duplicate my crash, stretch it a little bit, reverse it, lower its volume. And by the way, when you're doing stuff like this, reverse stuff, and it's good to lower the volume so that what comes next, it's higher, it's got more impact. Okay, so now that we have all this percussion, let's listen to the bass. Let's see how the bass is. Do we need to give something to the bass here, or what? Is the volume too low down there, guys? No worries, bro. Okay. Okay, let's do this. So, yes, the bass. Let's listen to the kick and the bass now and see if they lost anything. I noticed that the bass here has pretty enough high end. It's just the kick somehow is missing some high end there, I think. The kick is missing some kind of click. It's kind of disappearing its click when the hi-hats were added. So the technique I told you about using Saturn on the bass to make it jump a little bit more, we actually don't need it in this case. So I'm going to use Saturn actually in the kick. So the same technique, but for the kick. It's on. Let's see how it is with it off, and then I'll turn it on. You can see the difference right away. I'm using smooth amp. Maybe it's not what's best for it. Let's try different ones. So, and I'm also using the mix here so that I have on maximum. But you can see it gave it a lot of click to the kick right away. So it created some new harmonics here on the high end. And I got my crossover frequency at around 600K. So everything going over 600K hertz actually has a bit more crunch now. Kind of helps the kick then in little systems with smaller speakers jump out a little bit so it doesn't disappear when the percussion hits. So yeah, the kick and bass, I mean, we do the percussion and then go back to it, see if it's necessary. And now if we're going to move on to leads. I'm just going to save this. We're going to move on to leads. And when we get to leads, usually I only go back to the kick and bass when I'm building my low-end leads. The leads that use the frequencies from 200 hertz to 400 hertz, that usually messes up with the kick and bass a little bit. So let's go for our leads. And I don't have a synth here apart from Omnisphere. You guys want to choose a synthesizer to use for our first lead? I don't think I have Pro 53. Jesus, the list goes on and on. Silent, Massive, Albino. Jesus Christ. Massive is turning up more often, I think. Yeah, a lot of people use 53, Pro 53, yeah. I stopped using it for a while. I mean, but it's good. It's good. Silent has come up more often, I think. Okay, I'll use Silent and Massive. Albino was requested as well. Let's use Silent first and then Massive. So a technique that I've been using for leads lately is... let's start building them first. I'll get to it in a minute. Right. Where's Silent? Silent, where? Here. I got this one. Okay. Hopefully you can see it. Yeah. So the preset is on init, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So it's just a saw. So I'm just going to write something so that I don't have to keep pressing it. Make a loop here somewhere. And let's write something on it. So we're E 116.0 I'm using. Okay, and I'm gonna go straight to pitch bend and pitch bend this last note. Not all of it, just after the first 116. I'll pitch bend it down. That's too repetitive to build a patch, so what I'll do is I'll repeat part of it. I'll use different motifs. I'll use this as my question. I'll duplicate it, group it. So I'll use alpha of it as my question, the other alpha as my answer, and I'm going to focus obviously on the spaces in that I have on my question. So I have two 1/16s and 1/8. So I want to have the same thing on the other side. So I got 1/8 there, and I got two 1/16s. So it's kind of like question and answer straight away, really short stuff. And I'll repeat that. Whoa, not that one, this one, thank you. Like that. Let's see if that's enough for us to build a patch with. Okay, so that's good enough. Now, let's do, I know you guys like, well, oh, whoa, there's a lot of stuff here on the chat. Let me see what's going on. Alien style. So Alien does those leads. Ow! That it sounds like if you really listen to them, they're like ow, a voice going ow from up to down. So if you notice that the pitch goes from up to down, ow, kind of thing, right? And there's always high pass filter going on in there as well that has a little bit of modulation. And so if we start with the high pass filter and try to mimic that, so let's use a saw. We know most of the leads there is all saws, but we can try pulse width modulation. Works really well as well. I'm going to use just one oscillator for now with a saw. So my filter type, I'm going to choose, like I said, an high pass, right? I'm going to go for 12 dB octave. I'll just solo this, and I'll just okay. So there's my high pass. So this is the type of movement that you listen on these kind of leads. And that's what you want to be doing with your modulation. You want to kind of like move this knob up and down with a certain speed. So we come here and we'll assign that cutoff. So I'll choose cutoff A, right? And the rate that I notice that sounds better on this kind of leads is a free rate. So instead of being synced to the program, a free rate usually works better. But if you want to use sync, the one that usually works better when it's synced is 1/8. So I'm looking at this area here, right? So now it's 1/8D at the moment. Try 1/8D. It works good as well. So 1/8 is usually what's used for this kind of stuff. But I like to use free. I think it works a little bit better. And in free, it's a bit less than this. And usually works good with no retrigger. So retrigger off. I don't think Silent has a retrigger option for the LFO anyway. So, you know, in synths that do, the process is the same. So, but some that do have retrigger. Turn retrigger off usually works better. I'm not talking about the retrigger on the oscillator. I'm talking about retrigger on the LFO. A little bit of resonance helps to emphasize this. Get a drive as well. See, 24 kind of disappears too fast. This is 24 dB filter slope. So, like I was saying, 12 is usually the best. So we got the filter movement going on, and it's pretty similar, as you can see. With silent, I like to use distort to create some more harmonics. But before we go to that, let's first get to the pitch part. So if you notice in this type of lead, there's that pitch that sounds like a voice going ow, ow, from up to down, like I was saying before. So in order to create something like that, we don't actually need an LFO straight away. Well, we can use an LFO and try with an LFO. But a modulation envelope is usually what gives you more control for this kind of stuff. So let's go on to our modulation envelope and control the pitch A, because we're here in part A. So if I go backwards, yeah, this control here is the amount, right? The amount. So if I go right, I'm giving positive amount, and if I go left, I'm giving negative amount. So let's go just a little bit of amount here and start using the decay. Now, one thing about a pitch envelope is that you got to be careful if you're using sustain, because the sustain like this brings it down to the normal, So normal meaning it's in tune. So I play a C, when it hits the sustain, it's C that you listen to, right? But I mean, if you start messing about with the sustain, you see it changes the tonality right away, okay? So you really want to be listening out more, using more of the decay instead. You can use attack as well. It gives some different effects, but be careful about not having the pitch changing too much, the tonality of the lead changing too much. I'm just going to check the chat here. Yeah, you can use a band pass as well, but high pass usually works a bit better. In band pass, yeah. Resonance. Yeah. So yeah, if we try a little bit of attack, you get this. But as you can see, the pitch starts to mess up a little bit. But it's what you were looking for, then use it. And I like this distortion on silent. It creates kind of like more harmonics. And obviously I'm using only one oscillator. You can use both oscillators, use a bit of mess about with the phase of each other. So let's try that, why not? So we're only using a saw. Let's try use the pulse width. Two voices on the second oscillator. gonna put the second oscillator with the saw wave again. Detune it a little bit. Make one more mono. And you know, you can start messing with it, it starts changing. But basically, these two things, the movement for the high pass or band pass, we can try band pass and I'll show you the difference here. We got too much movement going on if it's a band pass though. So I'm going to reduce a bit of the amount that's going for the LFO here. And the gain. You see if you mess about with it for a while, you'll manage to get it where you want it. I use the band pass more for like mid leads, but most of the time I rather use a high pass because I get more frequencies on the high end, and I like them frequencies. Okay. Let me see. Any questions here? Chorus and phases would be my dinner. LFO and phase. LFO and phase. LFO and phase. I haven't tried that actually. For random Scotch, I can use the second LFO for pitch with amount in minus, right? Just use one voice on each oscillator. More pitch tricks, it's all there. More pitch control. Yeah, I mean, be careful with the pitch, like I said. We can use just one voice on each. Well, we can stay here all night doing stuff, guys. But this is something you guys have to try for yourselves, isn't it? It's a shame that Silent doesn't have a flanger. I mean, I like flanger more than phaser, because flanger gives us those kind of metallic sounds. But before I go and move on, let me just get to the distortion. Okay, phaser. I don't like Silent's phaser. I'm going to show you what flanger can do to Silent actually, because just because. Let me get some flanger here. Actually, I'm going to use a normal built-in flanger from Studio One. Where are you? Here we are. Use really high feedback stuff, and you get some cool metallic stuff, some cool metallic sounds. Mess up with the delay here. As you see that it kind of changes its position in the stereo field. And when you're trying to position a lead somewhere, this usually helps a lot to place it and make it. And if you can't listen to it really well, this helps to do that, jump out in the mix. How to make my internet faster? I'd like to have mine faster as well. I'd get more quality in the image and all that. Right, can I automate buttons from an external plugin with an LFO? Automate buttons from an external plugin with an LFO. Yes, you can. I don't know how to do it now. Someone showed me actually how to do that, but I can't remember right now. But yeah, I think there's a plugin that does that. Right. Okay. So we got a little lead going here. Let's get massive and do something with massive now. Obviously, we've done this kind of lead with silent. We're gonna try and do something else with massive. Let me get massive here. Massive is so big that it doesn't fit in the screen. I'll try to work with it as it is. Go from module to module. Right. So I saw a tutorial that puts 2 oscillators in sawtooth, 8 voices each one, then detune them. Then put oscillator -1 and other -2. Right, that's kind of sounds like an FM lead. Is that an FM lead? Okay, I'm actually gonna try and do something. Man, I can't spell your name. Pythonmenth. So Python is saying, I saw a tutorial that puts 2 oscillators with sawtooth with 8 voices each one, right? So how do I add 8 voices? 8 voices. Where do I put the voices? Voicing. So max 18. Right, but you're talking about silent, aren't you? Yeah, you're talking about silent. Okay. Right. Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's do that. Let's get another silent. Before we get into massive, we'll get into massive after. Right. Cubase. Lead. Silent. So if I know what, if I got this right, you're talking about 8 voices. They're both saws. One is -1, one is minus. I'll just hit that. Oh, that's loud. Okay, 8 voices. One is -1. And one is -2. Got bandpass and resonance. Yeah, guys, it's going on YouTube. This is going on YouTube. Tomorrow it will be uploaded on YouTube. Right, so we want a bandpass. Check this out, some resonance. Okay. I like how it sounds. So maybe a bit of drive. Beautiful. Very nice indeed. Okay, so let's give some movement to that guy. I'm actually using negative value here. Okay, so yeah, it sounds promising, and some detune in it. Try some phase here. It kind of sounds better on the negative than on the positive, and no retrigger, he says. On both. It's quite a big difference. Now I'm going to use that suggestion on the phase. Let's do something on a phase here. Phaser, no, not phaser. Phase A, yes. Too much. Ah, yeah. Sign, I had the sign there, yeah. So pretty interesting what you can do with that. So yeah, so basically it's the 8 voices in it. 2 saws, 8 voices on each. Some cutoff modulation. The phase modulation, as you can see, is quite cool as well. A little bit of phase modulation there. I chose phase A because we're in part A here. And I got quite a bit of gain, but if you see we go too far on here, it's too much noise. It's got to be a bit subtle. So again, free here on the cutoff works a bit better, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we got 2 leads there. Let's move on to massive. Let's get on massive. Right. I'm still gonna use this patch, so I'm not like writing stuff down again, and then we can change it. So let's quickly do something on massive because we'll be running out of time in a little bit. So with Massive, what I do is I just first I look for a waveform that I like, and I mean, Massive has got all these lovely stuff. So I usually don't even use a saw here. I go for stuff like vowels, pitch kind of stuff. Um, Let me just check the chat for a bit. Yeah, I could have done some pitch stuff on that silent, yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do a lead here with Massive. I'm gonna tell you how I go about when I create one. Usually the leads that I create is like dark stuff, so vowels, pitch kind of stuff. So that's what I'm looking for right now. I think I've So I like that kind of movement, that type of movement on the waveform position. So I'm gonna control that with an LFO there. So I'll just come here to my LFO 5. I'll grab it, throw it over there, and let me see where I want to be. That's the movement. I don't want it to restart. Oh, maybe. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Is oscillator 2 on? Oh, no, it's off. Well, it's on, but amp is minimum here. Right, let me check my chat and have a little bit of water. Cool. There you go. The intensity. Before I even move from the oscillator, I wanna make sure that I got everything from it. So. That's fine. I'm gonna try a minus bend. Hang on. I'm gonna try a minus band on minus, and I'm gonna go for these analog electric type of sounds. So I'll try acid first here. And notice I'm an octave up, create more higher frequencies there as well. Okay. I'm usually happy with 2 oscillators, so it's not too complex anyway. I'll just send everything to filter 1. I'm gonna use series. My filter I wanna. So you know this guy here. If it's down here, it's parallel. Both of them play at the same time. Sorry. If it's up there, it's series. So it goes into filter 1. From filter 1 goes into filter 2, and then comes over here. So I want mix between 1 and 2. I want it mix to come out from filter 2. And I'm gonna go for a band reject. Too much resonance there. I'll mess about with the cutoff, with the performer. Just shorten the performer a little bit. Oh, sync it. So I'm just creating a little bit of movement there. I'm gonna go for a band pass. Actually, sorry, high pass. For my high pass, I'm gonna use an LFO. Just a little bit of movement over there. So I passed 4 instead. Let me see my shit, what's going on. Right, so let's have fun now and get down here. Oh yeah, before I move on, I like to have my oscillators on restart via gate and all on the same place. And obviously use a bit of pitch bend because you're not listening to it. I'll go up 1, 2, and down 2. Yeah, that's better. So let's try filter FM on our second oscillator. We want to write it differently though. This is not the type of lead that would be written like this. I would write it with more 32s. Like there, 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 and there. And maybe there. That's too much. Okay. We got a little bit of filter modulation, filter FM going there for our oscillator 2. Now I want to try a little bit of phase for our first oscillator. Okay. Now let's see if our amp does us any good. And now you guys know the drill here with the amp. It depends on the position where it is. So if you go to our routing and change its position. You can see you can do some other crazy stuff with that feedback, but it's not doing what I want on these leads, so I'm going to turn it off. Noise usually does some pretty cool stuff as well. Helps filling up the sound, even though we got different types here. Now, one thing I like to use, distortion-wise, let me see my shed. There's a lot of stuff here going on in the shed. Where can I modulate envelope on massive like silent? Okay, we're going to use a pitch envelope for that purpose. Just in that case, let's use a pitch envelope now. Just before we move on, what I was going to say is going to talk about distortion, and instead of just using one distortion, I usually come here and use add different types of distortion, like art clipper here, parabolic shaper here, or whatever, and just use little bits of it. I'll be back here in a minute. Let's do that envelope thing again. So you got these 4 envelopes, and one of them is already assigned to the volume, which I believe is it the 4th? Yeah, this is our envelope 4 is already assigned to the volume, to the amp, so it's the amp envelope. I can use envelope 1 here to modulate my pitch, right? So what pitch do I want to modulate? I'm going to choose my first synthesizer, so hang on. Not my first synthesizer, I mean my first oscillator. So I'll just grab it, I'll come here, and I choose for how much do I want to mess about with this pitch. So I'm choosing 3 semitones, which is probably too much. The thing is, we already got these 2 guys going on. Let's see if I put this one down and just listen to these guys. Oh, but these guys got phase, so maybe a better option to use my other one in this case to see the difference. See. Oh, damn it. Oh, here we go. Oh, of course. You can see it having effect on it already. But if I want to show you what we did on silent, we had a saw wave. I'm going to use this third oscillator for this purpose. We had a saw wave. And so you see this envelope is now controlling the pitch from this third oscillator. And that's how you use envelopes on it. How to use SC slot. What do you mean by SC? SC slot. What do you mean? Sidechain slot? Below the pitch band. Right, the pitch band, it's on oscillator if I'm not wrong. No, the pitch band is here. It's below the slot that you put the envelope in the pitch band. Ah, SC here. Right. I'm not sure. I think it's got something to do with pitch as well. I mean, I can't remember really. Let me check. Let's see what that does. I think it's got something to do with pitch as well. I'm not sure if it's like semitones or something like that or less. Let me check. It sounds like it does exactly the same thing. So it's a second control for the pitch, if I'm not wrong. Maybe that's what it means. I don't know. I haven't checked on the manual, to be honest. So I'm not sure what it means. Maybe second control. Do not know. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. What is SC? But it sounds like it's doing the same thing. So it might give you like having one going down, one envelope controlling the pitch down a little bit, and another controlling it up a little bit. So actually, I'm going to try that. I'm going to use envelope 2 for that. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it acts like a second control. I didn't knew about it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you're doing, we can be doing what we've done in silent. We can do it like this, but using the graphical envelopes from Massive. But now, if we get back to the patch that we were doing. I think he's got too much phase going on. So I was pretty much finishing that patch. I was just going to try and add some distortion here, some clip distortion. Art clipper, actually. But like I was saying, I only use a little bit. You can hardly notice it. Just little bits of different types of distortion. because we got those two effects down there, and we still got this one, which has some teletube distortion and some Browner tube, classic tube, teletube, so you can use any of them. And of course, for the placement, I would come here and use our dimension expander, which is such a great feature from Massive. And I usually use the size pretty small. And maybe clean up some low stuff there. I mean, it's probably using up too many low frequencies, but let's see what we can do with the three of them together. Let's get to the mix, because we're running out of time here. We got 15 minutes to do the mix. Right, I gotta change these lids a little bit. I'm actually gonna create something for what's there. I'll just come here. I'll make them interact with each other really quickly. Just Right, let me put this on 1/16. Okay, next. Oh, just a little bit of pitch bend right there somewhere. 5, please. 0, that's it. Maybe this guy's too busy. Maybe too busy here, might. I'll take these out. It's already being played there. Take that out, and I'll put you back in your note. Just fuel those a little bit. Okay. Put these an octave up, or maybe just 2 notes there. Raise these 2 notes 1 more. go to my bass so it doesn't sound the same all the time, and do the same for my bass. Just raise here and raise there, like the lead, just for some little difference. And I'll repeat this bit over and over. This is just so that we can have something mixed. I'm trying to go as fast as I can because we're running out of time. No. Let's get cracking. Right. So now we can see our percussion is there. Small it down. Put our percussion in. Take this from solo mode. Right. So first thing I want to do is just lower the volume from all my leads and start adding one at one. So let's see what frequencies is this little fella using up. That's fine. Using a little bit at 300, so I'm happy with that. Let's put the other one in. So this is our bandpass one. So it's using frequencies only over 1K approximately. Let's put our massive in. Our massive is using quite a bit of frequencies down here on 100 Hertz, so I'm going to fix that problem really fast using an EQ and cut everything 200 down. I'll just use a low cut really quickly. Go 48 dB slope. Okay, now I'm happy. If this is going to be my lower leads, I'm going to use a low shelf here to give room for my other leads. Now remember what I told you about the dimension expander on massive? Let's check that out. Because massive, as soon as I put it in, you notice that it kind of like it is using too much of the other frequencies that the other guys are using. So I'll come here to my dimension expander and try to fix that. Remember the flanger? The flanger can do this kind of like the same thing. Touching the flanger settings will change its position on the stereo, so that will help to make this lead jump out a little bit. I think it's actually jumping out too much. Let's see. This is this guy. Now I want to listen to my bass with and without my synths, see if my bass and my kick are suffering too much. So let's put the synths in and take them out. I think this one with the flanger is kind of messing up my bass a little bit. Yeah, I am letting music theory behind a little bit, and was trying to show you more mix techniques than anything else today, but you know, not enough time for everything. Anyway, right. So let's just do one little thing here on this lead. He lives. Let me see where he lives again. So he lives on from 300 and up. I'm gonna use a low cut just to check what frequencies on him are really affecting my kick and bass. So I'm going to be listening for my bass mainly, because that's what I feel that it's affected. And I'm going to pay attention where it starts to be muddled up. So it's where I suspected. It was at around 300K, 300 Hertz, around this area. So if you look now, with the EQ on, we had something at 300 Hertz. So that's been cleaned up a little bit, as you can see. And that's what was messing up my bass a little bit. So again, trying to solve problems is what mix is about. And we hit the mark of 2 hours. Yeah, I can't do no more today, guys. It's 9 o'clock, and where I live, I can't do any more noise. That's what people call it, unfortunately. Yeah. Python, man, I can't say your name, man. Python Memph, right, bro? Yeah, Dave Pensado, guys. You want to know more about mixing? He's the godfather of mixing, dudes. Dave Pensado, check out his channel. I mean, I learn a lot from him. I'm always watching his shows. He teaches you great stuff. Obviously, it's for any style of music. It's not psytrance focused like I do. But yeah, big props for the man. We all love him. Now, gotta go, guys. Next weekend is gonna be in Portuguese. I know some Portuguese people are watching this one. So next weekend, next Sunday, 7 o'clock, same time, it's gonna be a workshop in Portuguese. This workshop is gonna be uploaded tomorrow on YouTube. So 9 o'clock tomorrow, this workshop will be available, so you can guys recap. You can recap on it. And that's it. The next one in English will be next month, last Sunday of the month. So every last Sunday of the month, we got a new workshop for you guys. On this one, I hope you guys are back on the next one. This one, I'll save this project, and we can carry on where we left off. So we can like go more into mixing, which was the main purpose of this tutorial. And we can go more into music theory. I was planning on doing some music theory stuff, but the time is limited. I had this emotion thing here with chords, pad, melodies. I mean, the patches were selected already, but well, anyway, I gotta go, guys. Thanks for being here. We had 16 people here. That's good. And I'll see you next month. Peace. I had this emotion thing here with chords, pad, melodies. I mean, the patches were selected already, but well, anyway, I gotta go, guys. Thanks for being here. We had 16 people here. That's good. And I'll see you next month. Peace.